You know what? Beneil Dariush versus Benoit Saint Denis is one of those fights that are way more interesting than people are giving it credit for. It's coming up in a couple weeks, and I've already seen some fan base split in half over this one. Some bros are like, bro, Beneil's got this, bro. He's a crafty vet. He's been around. He knows how to win these fights. And yeah, they're not wrong. Beneil is smart, composed, a veteran. But I also think a lot of folks are oversimplifying it. They're looking at this fight the wrong way or through the wrong lenses compared to how Beneil handled Renato Moicano. Oh, well, Moicano dominated BSD and Beneil just beat Moicano, so that means Beneil beats BSD. That's not how the game works, man. Styles make fights. MMA math is a trap, and it's more than a bad X, in my opinion. And let's be real for a second. Let's be real, that's my catchphrase. Moicano versus BSD was a one-sided beating. Yeah, Moicano got the better positions, he landed the heavy shots, and it ended by doctor stoppage. But that was a while back. BSD since then has leveled up like crazy, in my opinion. You can see in the way he approaches his fights. The dude is starting to mix his tools properly. It's not just like berserker mode anymore. I feel like fans are still thinking of him as this wild man who fought Dustin Poirier. That guy who just walked through the fire hoping to land something heavy. But since then, he's clearly been working on his composure, his setups and his distance management. The fight that really showed me that was the one against Ruffy. I honestly thought Ruffy's striking was going to be a problem for BSD. I expected him to get tagged clean a few times, but what BSD did in that fight was eye-opening. He wasn't just charging forward like he usually does. He was feinting takedowns, snapping jabs off the feint, ripping the body, chaining it all together with his wrestling set. It was completely something I didn't even expect. Something I didn't think he would get this sharp this soon. Nobody really talks about it, but that was one of the cleanest performances of his career. I think what makes this fight with Beneil so fascinating is how their strengths collide. Beneil is all about composure, experience, and efficiently grappling. He's not going to panic when it comes to the grappling, and he's fought everyone. BSD, on the other hand, brings that intensity, that energy, that willingness to crash the pocket. It's like watching the student trying to prove that he belongs in the same classroom as the professor. And look, I get why people think Beneil might school him. It's the safe pick. I can see that. But I see this as one of those moments where the new wave really tests that old guard, BSD's improving. He's faster than people realize. And to me, that's dangerous. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not crowning BSD as some future world champion. I'm not that delusional. He's still got holes, especially when you pressure him in mixed levels. But the progress is there. You can see him starting to understand the range better, using feints to control the tempo, and getting better with his offense. That's what separates him. The brawler BSD from the contender BSD. The guy's growing fight by fight, and that's what you love to see. And honestly, if he keeps evolving like this, I wouldn't be shocked if he breaks into the top 5 one day. So listen, man, one of the biggest reasons I think Benoit Saint Denis actually has a real shot here is because how aggressive he is. We all know him as this marauder, right? The guy who doesn't wait for an invitation. He just walks forward like a human battering ram, which is badass. But the difference now is that he's not just charging and blinding anymore. He's actually using pressure in a smart way. He's improving in fights. You can tell he's learning to weaponize his pace, his timing, his setups. The chaos is still there, but now it's more controlled, I would say. That's a dangerous combo, especially when you're facing a guy like Beneil Dariush who has issues dealing with this kind of pressure early in his fights. And that's the thing with Beneil, man. He's an amazing fighter, don't get me wrong. Crafty, he's a veteran, world-class grappler. He's super composed when he gets going. But my problem with him has always been those first 5 minutes. When his opponents just come out gun blazing, Beneil just doesn't always react well. Let's just say how it is. It's almost like it takes him a round to download the data, but sometimes he doesn't get the chance because the file gets deleted before he can even open it. We've seen it happen more time than once. Go back to the Arman Tsarukyan fights. Everyone thought that this was going to be a back and forth war, between these two elite grapplers. Nope. First round knockout. Then, you go back to the Charles Oliveira fight. It's kind of a similar story. Charles didn't give him a time to think. He just marched him down, threw volume, landed that head kick, and overwhelmed him in the second round. He finished him. Beneil looked a step behind from the start. He even said afterwards that his body felt like in slow motion. That's not something you want to hear from a top 10 fighter, especially when you're up against someone as relentless as BSD. And it's not like this is new for Beneil either. We've seen it happen years ago, back, Remember when he fought Alexander Hernandez? Alexander Hernandez came in, knocked him out in less than, a minute? Straight up shocked everyone. Beneil barely got to throw any strikes before he got flatlined. Even Moicano rocked Beneil. Yes, Beneil won that fight. credit where credit's due, but Moicano rocked him early. He had him shaking on his leg for a second before Beneil composed himself and turned it around. And that's why this fight worries me for Beneil, man. BSD is not the guy you want to give an early momentum to. He's built for a fast start. He thrives on making you uncomfortable, forcing you to react instead of thinking. And if Beneil takes even a minute too long to adjust, that might be all that BSD needs. He's got that forward pressure, the body kick, the takedown feint. It's all designed to keep his opponents guessing and second guessing themselves. And the scary part is BSD's getting better at not overextending himself. He's not throwing himself into danger the way he used to. So if he can stay patient in that aggression, Beneil could be in some serious trouble early. Now, again, I'm not saying that Beneil can't win. He absolutely can. If he survives that first round, he can take over. His grappling, his composure, his experience, they all start to shine once the fight slows down a bit. But that's a big if. If you can't keep betting on surviving the early storm, at some point the storm gets stronger, and BSD is that kind of storm right now. The kid improves fast, he's confident, and now he's the wild man. You know, he has that wild man energy mixing with that structure. And if history tells us anything, it's that Beneil's weakest moments always come before he finds his rhythm. And that's exactly what BSD is the most dangerous at. And let's talk about something people love to ignore. It's the age factor, man. Beneil is only 36 years old, which on paper doesn't sound ancient, especially for a lightweight. But let's be honest, in fight years, that's a lot of mileage. This dude has been grinding in the UFC since 2014. That's over a decade of war, training camps, weight cuts, getting hit, grappling exchanges. All of that adds up. You can only take so many rounds before your body starts to react slower, your chin starts to fade a little, and the recovery time doubles. And that's the part that worries me with Beneil, bro. His chin is starting to look a little suspect. I'm not saying he can't take a punch, but it's the way he gets clipped. When he gets hit, it's like his legs go before his mind does. He's not out cold, but the stability just isn't the same as it used to be. You saw it against Charles. You saw it against Arman. Even Moicano wobbled him, okay? That kind of pattern you just can't ignore, especially when you're fighting someone like BSD who's aggressive, physical, and throws with real conviction. But look, man, I'm not going to sit here and pretend Beneil's got no shot. The guy's still dangerous. He's actually very skilled and very experienced, just to brush off. But his path to victory is tight. There's not a lot of room for errors. If he's going to win, he's got to slow BSD down, in my opinion. No trading wild shots, no ego war. Just make it a Beneil Dariush fight, you know? Just very smart, very slow, and very composed. Because when he's locked in, he's one of the best in the world at shutting people down. And that's the key for Beneil, to use BSD's aggression against him. Say Denis loves to crash forward. He likes to take to the center and dictate immediately. That's fine. Let him. Beneil just needs to stay calm, use that space, let BSD overextend, and then shoot underneath. That's where Beneil's at his best. He's not some explosive wrestler. He's a technician, and he's sticky. He times his shot well when you try to rush him, and if he can get BSD on his back and clinch up and start chaining takedowns, that's the fight that he wants. Because Beneil's top game, that's his bread and butter, bro. If you get time BSD rushing in and get him down, that's where the fight changes. He's not going to waste time throwing wild ground and pound. He's going to smother him. When Beneil's on top, it's like getting caught under a weight blanket that wants to choke you out, you know? BSD is a strong dude, but that type of heavy jiu-jitsu control, that's different. It's not brute strength, it's positional. You don't just explode up on a guy like Beneil. You get stuck, and every second passes. You're losing air, you're losing confidence, and honestly, that's exactly how Moicano broke BSD. It wasn't just one big shot, it was a deft control. Beneil could do the same thing, in my opinion, maybe even better, because his pressure is more steadier, his transitions, in my opinion, are more tighter. He can change one position to the next and just wear you down. And that's the kind of fight where BSD's aggression becomes liability instead of a weapon. The other thing is the mental side of it, in my opinion, because BSD never really had someone make him feel helpless twice. Once Moicano put him into a bad spot, you can see him frustrated, like he knew he couldn't just get out from brute force, you know? If Beneil gets him down early and makes him feel the same kind of pressure, again, that could mess with BSD's head. So yeah, I think Moicano's fight gives Beneil a real blueprint. You know, that time the aggression, use it against him, and get to work once it hits the mat. Beneil doesn't have to make it a brawl. He just needs to make him fight off his back, because when BSD's not moving forward, he's not the same animal. And in my opinion, that's the path for him right there. But with all that being said, I am going with BSD regardless. I think BSD's just going to come in, and he's going to be mad. He's going to march him forward. He's going to beat up BSD. And I could potentially see a first round finish. BSD does have, crazy finishing ability. And we all know that Beneil Dariush's chin is very compromised. It's weak. And I can see a first round finish. But like I said, I could easily see it going the other way too. But I'm going to go with Benoit Saint Denis with a first round TKO or knockout. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like always, I'll see you on my next one.